Welcome to our executive interview series at AI Talks, presented by AI Scoop. I'm Wyatt Cashin. We're here with Brett Conrad, Vice President Public Sector at Box. Brett, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Wyatt. Excited to be here.
One of the questions I'd like to ask you is, where are you seeing AI move from pilot projects into real operational use inside government agency, and what's making that shift possible now, or more so than maybe a year ago?
Yeah, I think last year you were at any government conference you were at, we were talking about what is the application of AI and Gen AI initiatives. And I think the theme we were seeing last year was a lot of focus on treating AI like a separate initiative. And this year what we've seen is really how are we embedding AI and AI capabilities into the systems that government employees are leveraging. And what we've learned through this process is that unstructured data is really critical, and agencies are sitting on troves of unstructured data and files, whether that's evidence, whether that's correspondence, whether that's agency documents. And many of the systems that we work with are struggling to get insight out of unstructured data. And from an end user perspective, employees are struggling with not being able to put sensitive data that contains CUI or PII into the agency approved chatbots. So really what we've been focusing on is how are we taking and pre-building components and agents for end users to leverage that work directly in the systems that they're using. So interoperability is really critical. And what we're seeing is agency employees are still manually opening, looking at files, swivel chairing, keyboarding, and entering that information into a case management system. So we're really focused on, as files are flowing into the agency, how do we extract out intelligence from those files? How do we push that information and structured data automatically into the case management system? And then being flexible, because agencies have different investments. So whether it's Salesforce, whether that's ServiceNow, SAP, or homegrown case management, how are we kind of becoming an intelligent ingestion layer into those platforms? And then the last piece I think we're seeing is really the interoperability and also the model flexibility. So, if you are an agency that is trying to deploy a Gen AI use case and you are going all in on one model provider, that provider may be obsolete in 3 to 6 months because things are moving so quick in the space. So really what we're seeing is your AI strategy, does it take into consideration a thoughtful approach for unstructured data? Is it interoperable? So can it integrate across your agency platforms? And then do you have flexible model of choice so you can switch across different use case needs of your employees and being able to switch across models without having to re-platform the entire use case. So those are kind of the themes that we've been seeing. On the Box side, we've been kind of incorporating this into the platform. So when you upload a file into a Box, we're able to extract out the intelligence from the file. We're able to classify the file and say, hey, this is CUI automatically, so an agency employee doesn't have to go key in that information. And then we are pumping that pipeline of structured data into these systems, which has become really, really popular and well adopted across our customers.
And then what have been the hardest barriers to AI adoption inside government, in addition to what you just outlined, and how are organizations starting to really overcome them?
Yeah, so I think there's 3 major themes that we see in terms of barriers to adoption. Data governance is one. So there is an immense amount of concern about putting privileged data or sensitive CUI data into general model providers, and also how are you protecting against data exfiltration from these. So I think the chain of custody and visibility and security controls around your unstructured data is really critical, and we're seeing hesitancy of deploying use cases. Also, is your platform FedRAMP High approved? Is it IL4, IL5 approved? So kind of baking in the security and compliance controls into the system, and then ensuring that there's no kind of spillover on the model trading side, or agency employees being able to see privileged information that they may not normally get in their role through a model provider. So that's kind of the first theme is data governance. The second theme, really is change management. And, I think we were seeing in these large scale use cases, if you give 100,000 employees access to a chatbot, you're going to have a wide range of adoption and familiarity with these tools. And also, people are accustomed to working in the way they've been working for many years. So how do you introduce the capabilities? So you may have very advanced users who are building agents, scaling agents. You may have some end users who are AI resistant. And how do you start to make their day-to-day job easier by maybe taking out some of the manual tasks and easing them in? And then, I think there's a really important critical role in IT and the business need to be much more tightly aligned, and industry has to be much more tightly aligned. So, what we're seeing is really like leaning in on the industry side, teaching our customers in the federal government how to prompt, how to build agents. We're co-building all from kind of $0 investment type projects to help them get pilots off the ground. And then when we get in production, obviously working with contractors in the integrator community to scale. So I think, and the last piece, and I mentioned it prior, is also just avoiding the vendor lock-in. So if your AI strategy is dependent on one vendor only, I would be really concerned in the environment that we're entering, because things are just moving so quickly. So, and it has to be able to extend across your other platforms. So if you're deploying in one ecosystem, like AI is not going to be monolithic in terms of how it's deployed. So you really have to be thoughtful about, is it interoperable? Is it flexible? Can you leverage models? And then how do you help the end users actually adopt the tool by kind of pre-building some of the components and themes? So those are the themes we're seeing.
A lot to consider and some great points. Appreciate that. Well, Brett Conrad, thank you so much for joining us here at AI Scoop's AI Talks event.
Thank you, I appreciate it.